Report on a journey to the western states of North America and a stay of several years along the Missouri during the years 1824 to 1827 by Gottfried Duden. 18th letter, Montgomery, 16 May 1826, Part 1, Number 25. The money from Europe did not arrive until last fall. I decided to spend the winter at the place where I had stayed so long, but to live on my own farm at the beginning of the following spring. And that is what I did. Toward the end of March, arrangements had been carried out to the point that the new homestead seemed habitable for American settlers, and since I had already become so familiar with their way of living, I did not hesitate a moment to move in with my 2 horses, dogs, and cattle. As I can remain here only until next year, I have restricted myself to the necessities. I had a secondary building made into temporary living quarters for me, and had a roof constructed to protect the unfinished main house. The yard covers about 1.5 morgen, the adjoining meadow about 2.5 morgen, and the arable fields 4 morgen. Everything is well fenced, and the fields have been prepared for cultivation in the usual manner. The cost did not amount to more than I had estimated earlier. An excellent spring, and the pastures survived the drought of last year. I have had it surrounded with a protective hut. The path from the house to the spring is shaded by tall oak, ash, walnut, and sassafras trees. The beautiful foliage of the white walnut trees bends the branches almost to the ground from a considerable height, as is the case with weeping willows. In front of the hut, as I must call the place, a porch has been built. A few paces away, melons, cucumbers, and other kitchen plants thrive in a small garden. A cook tends to my household wants, and a young man hired for several months does the field work. Formerly, I had in my service a peasant who had emigrated from Germany in 1817. He had landed in Philadelphia, and had given himself and his wife into indentured service for several years to pay for the passage money. After many hardships, fate had brought him here. The usual monthly wage for a male worker, be he black or white, is $8 to $10, in addition to board and lodging. Without it, from $12 to $14. I paid the latter sum, as I do not care to be involved in providing board and lodging. A cook receives $4 a month here. Several years ago, the wages were twice as high, but with the rapidly increasing population, the pay will decrease still more. However, it will not be as low as it is in Europe in general. That is why it is easy here to establish a household. Immigrant Europeans who have no fortune and are skilled neither in arts nor crafts must earn their living doing ordinary house or field work. And in the beginning, there's a sad lot here. But more of this later. My fields are properly planted with corn, some cotton, merely as an experiment, potatoes, beans, peas, carrots, spinach, cucumbers, pumpkins, melons, and so forth. I can also obtain provisions of this kind from my neighbors at low prices. I bought the necessary furniture and kitchen utensils in St. Louis, where such things are considerably cheaper than in the stores in my neighborhood, so that when I leave I can sell everything to my neighbors without loss. I also provided myself with coffee and rice from there. A good cow supplies me with fresh cream. Her calf, which is kept in an enclosure, keeps her from wandering far from the homestead, even though she finds her food in the forest. I am accustomed to keeping one of my 2 horses in the fenced pasture in order to have it always at hand. My daily routine is as follows. At sunrise, I go outdoors, usually with a fowling piece. I roam around for about an hour, shoot partridges, doves, or squirrels, and also turkeys, which, however, can be shot better with a rifle, and return to eat my breakfast. After breakfast, I read the books I had selected to include in my baggage in small, locked chests. I then occupy myself, as calmly as I ever did in Germany, with the sciences. Shortly before the noon meal, I stop reading, walk in the garden, or go to the spring. After the meal, I mount my horse either to visit my neighbors or to enjoy the beauty of nature in the forest, on the hills, or in the valley. To what extent one may call this a life in the desert, you may be the judge, as I have recently permitted the neighboring farmers to build a schoolhouse on my land. You must also take into consideration that newspapers from St. Charles and St. Louis always arrive here on the second day after printing. Rainy weather rarely disturbs us here. I know of only one occurrence when there was more than 3 rainy days in succession. That was toward the end of March of last year. Rains are rather heavy and usually accompanied by storms. As soon as the rain stops, the sun shines again and the roads are soon dry. At any rate, being near the large waterways, they do not suffer from freight carts to the extent that a rider has cause for complaint. In the woods, there are many paths made only by game and domestic animals. I wish that you could see my present location, even if only for a few moments. The hills and valleys are all covered with forests, but in such groupings that it appears as if an artist had laid out a park. 206 Morgan of private property surround my homestead. The rest is at a somewhat greater distance from it. 4 never-ending springs spread a most refreshing coolness over it, and one of them is so elevated that I could run water into the house with considerable pressure. Even the water in Lake Creek on my property is as cold as well water during the greatest summer heat. This brook teems with fish and contains 2 kinds of turtles, one with a soft shell. Bullfrogs are also found there. Their croaking can be heard throughout the summer. They have a greenish color with black-brownish spots and are so large that they weigh about 2 to 3 pounds and hunt small chicks. At least I have never seen a larger one. The French eat them with relish. My house is situated on the level area of a hill that rises gently from the rather wide valley of Lake Creek. The plain changes to a slope, which gradually reaches a height that offers a distant view of the Missouri Valley and adjacent hills. The splendor of the forests is, especially during this month, beyond all description. They are full of a vast multitude of flowering trees. Here one beholds the purple of the Canadian Judas tree, the leaves and branches of which are hidden under innumerable blossoms. There the cornel tree, covered completely with large white flowers, shines through dark foliage. The blossoms of pawpaws, persimmons, acacias, plum trees, mountain ash, service tree, cherry trees, fragrant grapevines. Everything reminds me of the fact that I am in a country with wilderness to which at least Tacitus's descriptions of Germania do not apply. In neighboring woods I see many species of walnut trees. The best species is the pecan tree, which I have mentioned before. Then follow the black walnut, the wood of which is used by carpenters, the white walnut, the bark of which is used as a purgative. The last 4 species are called hickory trees here. The young shoots of the jugulant porcine are so flexible that they are used instead of ropes, and some farmers constantly use them for their sleds and plows. Among the oaks, the white oak is the best of all. Its excellent wood is also characterized by a degree of toughness such as I have never seen equaled in any other wood. The finest wickerwork can be made from its splints, and these baskets surpass by far those made of willow. In addition to white oak, I have noticed here the Quercus macrocarpus, with its conspicuously large fruits, the dyer's oak, the red oak, and the Spanish oak. On the banks of the rivers, cottonwood trees and elms rise to a height of 80 to 150 feet. Among the varieties of maples, I have seen a sugar maple and the Acer rubrum, from which sugar can be made, but not in the quantity as from the Acer saccharinum. Sassafras trees, aromatic wood, various kinds of sumac, weeping willows, ash, and linden trees. It is all this that usually attracts the eye. In some places the ground is adorned with the beautiful flowers of the Canadian bloodroot and varieties of lilies. In others with asters, phlox, maidenhair, and mandrakes. All my neighboring farms have orchards. These always produce so many apples that cider must be made of them. The abundant peaches are sliced and then dried. The peach tree thrives so well that one grows from a seed, bears fruit in the 3rd year. There is no need to consider grafting. Neither do apple trees require this. The seed produces a tree that is just like the original. Most apples are of a very good variety.